I'm Jane Farnham from Great British Speakers, and welcome to our series of video podcasts where we meet our talented speakers who are all available for your corporate events. Now, essentially, this is an opportunity for you to find out more about our speakers, what they talk about, and how they can help you add value to you and your business. So today I'm very pleased to be chatting to Dave Walsh again. Dave went from climbing mountains in the British Army to being unable to climb the stairs when he was diagnosed with MS. So welcome back, Dave. So lovely to see you again.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Now, of course, we have chatted before, but remind our listeners of your story and tell me a little bit about what happened, just to get a bit of background.
Yeah, so I used to be in the British Army, as spoken about. I joined the British Army to kind of get away from a toxic childhood. For me, there was only two routes to go down. It was gang culture, prison type of stuff, or getting out completely. So decided to get out completely. Joined the British Army. Kind of the one of the best things I've done, to be honest. Looking back at some of the people I went to school with, where their situation is compared to my situation, is totally different, for the better. So yeah, joined the British Army. Loved it from the get go. Really, did a tour of Iraq, doing exercises over in Poland, Cyprus, Kuwait. Had a fantastic time, and then my last posting, I was an adventure training instructor. So I used to go up and down mountains basically every day. It sounds fun, but when you're doing the same mountain 7 days in a row, it can get a bit tedious and a bit tiring. However, loved it. In 2010, decided to leave the forces. My wife wanted to start a career in nursing, and it was just too much of a struggle while I was always away doing military stuff. So I kind of struggled after leaving the military. Where did I fit in everywhere? I didn't overly fit in many like local football clubs, rugby clubs. Wasn't going to go back to where I came from. So I decided just to go on my own and go to the gym, just to keep up fitness basically at the time. But I thought I was getting pretty strong. Quite arrogantly said to my wife, I'm pretty strong these days. I think I'm going to enter a strongman competition, not knowing that my wife's cousin actually did strongman. And then within a day, he was phoning me. Never met the guy before, and then he kind of took me down to the strongman gym and signed me up for my first competition, which I loved. Swindon's Strongest Man was my very first show. Loved it. I think I came bottom five, but do you know what? That didn't bother me. I just had a great time, met a load of like-minded people, and knew I was going to continue this as hard as and as fast as I could. And then I was training for a few years, competing up and down the country in really good competitions, big ones. And I was actually training for Britain's Strongest Man in 2014 when my right arm started to go numb, and it kind of stayed there for a few weeks, and then it kind of spread from my right arm to the whole side of my right body was numb, and I did the typical man thing, toxic masculinity, and I kind of left it for about another month after that, I'd say. But then it spread from my right side to everywhere. Basically, everywhere was numb. So I went to get it checked out and was in hospital for about a week doing a lot of tests. And then it come back that I had multiple sclerosis. Didn't know overly what MS was at the time, and didn't know what the future was looking like. Basically, that you Google something when you get diagnosed, and it comes up with the horrors of this disease. So straight away I thought, oh gosh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be bad. From there, I started to experience symptoms with my mobility. I was struggling walking, and I was struggling, swallowing, speaking. A lot of different symptoms that have come and gone over the years. But I started to get really down on myself. I started to get really, really depressed. I was in a lot of pain all of the time. I had to leave Strongman because it was something that I couldn't do at the time, and I lost basically my sense of identity overnight, basically. And then with the doctors kind of telling me I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that, and me kind of believing them. They're the experts. I'm new at this disabled game. What do I know? So started to go down a quite a dark path of depression and anxiety, and I started to plan things, plan things to maybe improve my life. However, as in chopping off my own legs, kind of thing. And my wife,
Nothing dramatic then.
sorry, yeah, nothing dramatic, just a little local procedure.
So was that
Um,
the turning point for you then?
sorry.
Did something shift? Was that the turning point for you?
It wasn't straight away, so I kind of set a date when I was going to do it. I already asked the pain surgeons, the pain doctors, will they do it? But obviously said no because maybe I was being extreme at the time. But for me, the pain was there and it had to go. Um, but I kind of set a date and I had plans, drawings basically of how I was going to do it. My wife was going on holiday for a period of time with the girls, as in daughters and mother-in-law. I wasn't invited because the mother-in-law was going. Why would I want to go to that? But and then my wife found the plans basically in one of my pocket, and maybe I let her find it. I don't overly know. She hadn't found anything like that before, and that was kind of the turning point. I was struggling so long in silence that people knew I was down, and people knew I was sad and depressed and in pain, but nobody actually knew the extent of how it affected me back then. So when my wife, even the people closest to me, didn't overly know. I think as a man, you expect it to be a certain way in society. It's the whole men's mental health thing that I love. I love talking about men's mental health. You expect it to be a certain way, and this is from an early age. From when you're kids, like, oh, man up, or put your big boy pants on, kind of thing. So when my wife found it, she straight away, like, she was golden. Basically, she went into fight mode for me. I was in flight mode and she was in fight mode, and she kind of got me out of the depression I was in, or not out of the depression, but to see that there were other things in life that I could achieve. She pointed out to me the fact that I've got two healthy daughters who, you know, they look up to me. If I wasn't around, then they wouldn't be happy. For me, I thought if I wasn't around, everyone else would be happy. But she kind of drilled into me that that wasn't the case. From there, I kind of knew I needed to get back into something. So I started trying disabled sports. So I went to wheelchair basketball. I was actually a coach of that for some time, but it wasn't ticking the boxes that I needed. So I started going back to the gym, and then found disabled strongman. Not really knowing much about the disabled side of the sport before. Just really, really got into it and really started enjoying it, and coasted along until about 2019, and then kind of started to take it a little bit serious. And then I think my first British title was in 2019. No, no, it's not right. I forget. I've had three British titles now. So 2020 was the first one, and from there I kind of thought, I could take the world on here. And from there I did, yeah, and won World's Strongest Disabled Man twice and Britain's Strongest Disabled Man three times.
Yeah, congratulations. And didn't you win your last one last year?
Sorry?
Was your last award last year, wasn't it?
No, I actually came second last year. Um, you know, things
Yeah.
happen. Thanks for pointing it out, but yeah,
Oh,
no,
still
things
a
happen.
huge
And
achievement.
sorry.
Still a huge achievement.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I was quite. Last year, I kind of said if I was to win this year, as in that last year, I would kind of settle back and try and retire a bit.
Mm.
But I knew that probably wouldn't have worked. And when I came second, I was like, no, I'm not going yet. I still got time on my side. So
So, what do you think people's biggest misconception is when it comes to disabled sports and competitions like this? Is there anything we could do, you think, or we should be doing to improve awareness and representation and opportunities for, people who are disabled and in wheelchairs?
yeah, I think it's probably key to note that athletes with disabilities are just grateful to be competing still. Whether it's that the athlete was disabled from birth or had an accident or had something diagnosed later on in life, we're all just grateful that we can compete. So just showing the world what we can do is enough, and by having people watch us is fantastic, and kind of get talking. A lot of people don't know about disabled sports. I used to run a podcast where I spoke to people who are at the top of the disabled sports, and I didn't even know 60% of the sports I was talking
Mm,
about, like wheelchair, baseball, or kind of like sled hockey. There's so much out there that I think if we all just kind of knew about, would be a lot easier
mm.
for not just people who are in the sport, but people who want to get involved with sport, or parents with children who don't think there's any options out there. There's so many different options out there that we can get involved with, and yeah, it's just it's a bit of a life changer once you get
Yeah.
involved with a sport.
I can imagine. I mean, obviously, going from a really fit, strong young man to being a full time wheelchair user is going to have huge mental ramifications. So, how do you stay mentally resilient and keep pushing forward? Particularly, I would imagine, because it doesn't always come with zero pain every day.
Yeah, no, so it's definitely not easy being in a wheelchair. You've got your struggles and you've got your challenges, but I try to look at things as a positive. I'm very positive now, and I didn't used to be, but where I kind of had to build myself up to be the person I am today, I'm very positive, and I know I put things in perspective that if a building isn't accessible, that's the building. The owners probably would like it to be accessible for everybody. However, limitations are in the way, and kind of knowing that I personally have got such a good support network with my wife and my children, and I said it earlier, but mother-in-law kind of is actually quite useful. Uh, I know that with them, with my team behind me, and with the fact that the world is mostly a good place,
Yeah.
I like to think of it, and that's kind of what keeps me able to go forward. Don't get me wrong; there are times where I'm really annoyed at something, whether it's
I
something
think
of
that's entirely human, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You're only human if and you're going to get annoyed. But I like to kind of take a roll back and then kind of think about the bigger picture here. What would I do
Absolutely.
if I was looking at it from the outside?
It's all about perspective, I think, as well. It's easy for me to say, but everybody has awful days, and
Yeah,
then there's somebody who's facing something far worse. But in your situation, it's a constant battle, I would imagine, to kind of keep your head above the parapet. So obviously you've learned huge amounts of lessons along the way, both before, I would imagine, in the army, and after your diagnosis. So because obviously you work with a lot of our corporate clients, Dave, and you obviously talk about mental health as a general, but how can you help them to add value to an event? And how do you think you can inspire their team to kind of really reach their full potentials?
yeah. So I think it's all about getting to know your employees. I think, and your employees need to know that work is also a safe space to open up about your feelings or your mental health. It's not a place that should discourage things like that. So the more a business learns about how to deal with mental health, particularly well, not particularly, but men's mental health is. I speak to a lot of clients from. Well, I had one not long ago. It was a building firm, and 80% of their clients were their employees were male, and they knew nothing about mental health, and they had issues throughout the year that led to them needing a mental health speaker. And going in, kind of hearing it from a different perspective, from someone described me as boots on the ground. One of them, a working person, was it was quite eye opening for them to know that I was in the army. I struggled so much, and I'm still and now a two-time world champion, Guinness World Record holder. And if in 2015 someone was to tell me you're going to be this, I wouldn't even listen to them. I wouldn't give
Yeah.
them the time of day, because for me at the time, I just wanted out. So knowing that a business or my work would be able to help that way would be really beneficial. It's massively. And as well, kind of how I kind of like to try and show people how you get over these barriers, and how you can get over these to see the future and the better days.
Really adding value, really, from a holistic point of view when you go and chat with people. What's your favourite part of public speaking and corporate speaking?
For me, it's the Q&A. I love the Q&A. I love a bit of awkward questions. I kind of say beforehand, with me, nothing's off limit. I live with two teenage daughters, so I'm
Yeah.
always getting offended. So it doesn't really bother me. For me, the big one is the Q&A, and afterwards, when it's all finished, I kind of stick around for 15, 20 minutes, just talking to people, and that's where you get the real deep questions, where maybe this person wasn't happy to discuss it in a public forum, and that's totally fine. And then they can come up to you and ask you, specific questions which relates to them, and then you kind of see them taking it in, and I feel like maybe I've made a difference to that person there and then. So that is the best bit, I think.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for chatting today. I know that you are always a huge success when you go out and speak for our clients. They absolutely love you. The feedback we get is immense. So continue doing what you're doing. It's really valuable. And I'm sure so many people have, really benefited from you going out to talk to them.
Great, fantastic. Thanks very much, and I appreciate all the support yourself and the team give me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dave. It's such a pleasure to chat to you. And if you'd like to book Dave for your next event to inspire your team to fulfill their full potential, then just call us on 01753 439 289, or you can email me directly, jane@greatbritishtalent.com. Thanks very much.